This is the weekly update for the 5-minute production incubation engineering project dated December 3rd, 2021. The goal of 5-minute production is to make production-grade deployments simple, reliable, and boring. We're using these terms with intent. Things should be ridiculously simple and trivial to use. And for that, we have one-click authentication to set up deployment credentials, one-click configuration to set up deployment pipelines with all the built-in best practices. We are striving to be a boring solution, and boring shouldn't be conflated with bad or inferior, but rather it's to use popular and established tech that reduce complexity and increase speed and stability. It should be reliable like my electric kettle. I fill it up with water, I turn it on, then I forget about it. And for this effort, we figured out that Google Cloud and Cloud Run are the best choice. We did not start off from there. As you know, GitLab is not an infrastructure company. We don't have any cloud hosting offerings at all. But we have two excellent partners, AWS and GCP. These are our natural partners, but how do we decide between them? The criteria is number one, is it frictionless to generate deployment credentials from the GitLab web interface? With GCP, if you use Google OAuth 2 and their IAM APIs, it is possible. As of December 2021, with AWS, it is not possible unless we use an ugly hack. This blocks AWS out, right? It's a blocker. So this rules out AWS. The second criteria, can it run web applications in a managed environment? And GCP has got Cloud Run, Cloud Functions, and App Engine, which do the same. So we apply the third criteria to filter down further. Can we comply with open standards, and can we avoid vendor-specific configuration? And this rules out Cloud Functions and App Engine, and we're left with Cloud Run. Till now, we've demonstrated the ability to create service accounts from within the GitLab Rails web application. You navigate to Infrastructure Google Cloud. You follow the Create Service Account workflow, which takes you through the Google OAuth process. You log in and you grant permissions, and then you're taken to the Create Service Account form, where you select your GCP project and the environment. You create the service account, and this creates the service account and the service account key inside your GCP console and saves them within your project CI/CD vars. A very large chunk of the development effort for this week was merging of 75295, which introduced a few critical code improvements to this feature set. It went through a very thorough review process. I would like to name a few people who helped me through this, and I would say the two key players were Andrew Fontaine and Paul Slaughter. I believe there were a couple of back-end approvals as well. So if I just toggle this, you will see all the back-end approvers, and the key back-end approver was Krasimir. But because most of the work done here was related to front-end, I named Paul and Andrew as the main reviewers and maintainers who helped me through this process, and this got merged. During the course of the week, I also opened up 75902, which fixes a bug related to the return or cancel URL of the Google OAuth process. This is open, and it'll undergo review and merge in the coming week. The second MR created this week was 75897, which introduces the button to revoke Google API authorizations. Let me show you a quick demo. So here's a project which has got 3 service accounts created, and by default they've gone through this OAuth process, they have this OAuth token associated in the session, and it times out after a certain amount. I believe it's 10 minutes. But we want to give the user complete control to revoke this authorization. So a button has been introduced inside the Google Cloud configuration section, where I can press this button to revoke the authorization. Do note, this revokes the authorization, but it does not invalidate the service accounts which has been created. So let me just press the button, goes through the process, gives me notification that the token has been revoked. And the proof of this is that when I try to create a service account again, I have to go through the sign-in process, the OAuth process. This MR is open. It'll undergo the front-end and back-end review and merge processes in the coming days and weeks. The focus for the coming week involves a couple of key meetings and then work to be done on the one-click config process, wherein we go into this deployment section, and for Cloud Run, I want to press a button which will configure the merge request. So this is the UI concept. It's not functional right now, but I think I've decided on this UI process because this UI seems scalable when we have to support more services, so we can have buttons or toggles for each one of them. And this has been inspired by what we're doing in security compliance. For example, if I go to configure within security and I click enable SAST, this will take me to a form where I see a few fields, and I can configure my SAST task, and I press the button, and then it takes me to, well, it doesn't take me here, but it will take me to a page where I can create a new MR. So for some reason this is not working for my local GDK, but this process works on .com, and you can check it out there. So based on this experience, well, not the experience that I just suffered with the 404, but the experience that you can actually configure an MR by pressing a button, which will include the deployment pipeline. That's the experience I want to make available, so that we can come true on our promise. We promised them one-click authentication, which we have over here with the create service account, and with the deployment button over here, we want to fulfill the promise of one-click configuration. So that's the focus for the coming weeks.